Today I wanted to talk to you about why Samantha and I didn't divorce. It's a very common question, and it's even more common after people hear our story. I had a 2.5 year affair. It was with one of my wife's closest friends. She was like a nanny to our kids when they were young. We had almost gotten caught time after time, and I had lied for so long. When people hear the complexity of our story, they audibly gasp and go, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me." And probably 90% of the time, whether it's on the Little League field or whether it's on the phone with someone in crisis, they almost always ask, "Well, why didn't you divorce?" And, everybody says what they'll do if infidelity happens until it actually happens. Because when it happens, usually there's kids or there's a significant amount of time and history that you've spent together. So it's not like, "Oh, that's a deal breaker, we're done." It just doesn't work that way. It's far too complicated. It's far too impacting. It's life altering. And so to think that you're just going to pull the ripcord and divorce, it just doesn't happen that way. So some of the reasons why we didn't divorce, number one, you have to give credit to the amazing caliber of Samantha's heart and her compassion and her willingness to give me a chance. Number two would be the fact that I listened to Rick. Rick had been through it. At that time had been doing it over 20 years, now almost 30 years. So I trusted him, and I was what one of his newsletters recently talked about. I was forgivable at some level. I was still an idiot and still doing stupid things, but Rick taught me how to be forgivable. Now, don't get me wrong. Samantha was furious. She's petite, 5'9", gorgeous, not a very strong physically woman. But I came outside one day, and my daughter had this dollhouse that was built out of plywood. And Samantha had a moment and decided today she was going to let out some anger. So I heard all this commotion, and I walked outside. Samantha had a pickaxe in her hand and absolutely destroyed this dollhouse that was built out of plywood. Neighbors were peeking their heads over the fence. My kids ran out, and I walked out there, and she looked at me in a way that I never want to be looked at ever again by her. So she was furious, and she was off the rails at times. But we got help from someone who had been through it before and who knew what it was going to take to heal. You see, infidelity has a way of zeroing out our life. It brings you back to what is important and what is not. It took away, it wasn't about cars, it wasn't about houses, it wasn't about square footage or 401ks or any of that anymore. It was about her and I and our 3 kids. And infidelity has a way of zeroing out your life and bringing you back to a point where you really have to get the right help in the right protocol before you just decide to divorce. I've said it before, it takes an incredible amount of courage to pursue restoration, and it does take an incredible amount of courage to divorce if that's what you feel like you need to do. But the reason we didn't divorce was because we got the right help. I listened to Rick. And really an amazing, incredible opportunity from Samantha to see what would happen if we gave it a shot. And I hope you too will give it a shot.